Studios in Brea, California, here is the Doyled In podcast.
Welcome back to the Doyled In podcast. Today is going to be a very special episode that we have in store for you in honor of the anniversary of the assassination of JFK. We're going to be talking about my dad's, what would you say, obsessive topic that you've... how long have you been obsessed with JFK's assassination?
I don't know if I've been obsessed with it, but intrigued and wanting to understand the truth. So I don't know, man. I mean, I first saw The Men Who Killed Kennedy when I was a teenager back home, and ever since then, it was just been something that it's kind of like, how can this happen, and how can these people get away with this?
Yeah.
And over the years, I kind of like, okay, I'll read a book here, I'll read a book there, but in recent years, especially, it maybe has become a bit of an obsession, I guess, but it's something that I really want to dig into and really understand more of, because it really translates to what's happening today. Nothing's changed. So yeah, that's, I guess, since I was a teenager is when I first really got interested in it.
Interesting. Yeah, because I as long as I can remember, it's something that, I've always known you've been into is the whole assassination of JFK. And I don't think it was until you brought up the fact that you want to do this episode where I was like, all right, maybe I'll look into it, because I don't know anything about it other than it most likely wasn't Lee Harvey Oswald that killed JFK. That was the only thing I had known. And, I had watched the movie JFK in preparation for this episode. And it's crazy to me, the parallels. I mean, how long has it been since he was assassinated?
62 years this week.
So on Saturday would mark 62 years. And because he was assassinated on the 22nd of November, correct? Right?
Yep.
Yeah. And so it's crazy watching that movie and seeing how many parallels there are to today's, today's era, or whatever you want to call it, today's period of time, or whatever.
Climate.
Yeah. Whatever title you want to give it. But yeah, so, I mean, let's start it off. What is the basis of JFK's assassination that we are being told to believe?
Well, I mean, the official story is there's this lone nut called Lee Harvey Oswald who hated the president and was waiting for his motorcade and decided to go to the 6th floor of the book depository, the Texas Book Depository, which is where he worked, and fire off 3 shots, killing the president. At first, they had this whole magic bullet theory that he only fired, 1 shot, and it went through the president, went a left turn, went down a little bit more, then came out, went through Connolly, and then went to the right and went through Connolly's thigh after going through his wrist. But there was 3 shots that they finally admitted to being fired, with just, I guess, 1 is what they wanted you to believe is that killed him and hit Connolly. And then, they arrested him because he left the scene, went and killed a cop on his way to the theater, a cop who tried to catch him, and hid out in the theater. Cops went there and caught him, arrested him, brought him to the police station, questioned him. He supposedly admitted to it. That was later scrapped. But then on Sunday morning, when he's being transferred from that jail to the courthouse, a businessman who was so upset about the assassination decided to come down and kill Oswald. And then he got arrested, he being Jack Ruby, got arrested and then was sent to prison, where he later died of cancer.
Oof.
And that's it. that is the official story from your U.S. government.
So how fast did they say he died of cancer? Like from when he got?
Gosh, it was a matter of I think it was a year or two, right?
Okay.
I don't actually recall, but it was after. So there was, and this is where I made notes off to the side here, and some notes I didn't make, and but there was I'll think of her name later. There was a well-known news reporter who she was a groundbreaking female reporter, one of these women who took the bull by the horns and started getting things done that women hadn't been doing in the journalistic world. Well, she got an interview with Ruby, and that was recorded by people who we'll talk about later, but she was killed shortly after that.
Oof.
And then shortly after that, Ruby got a visit from a doctor who has ties to CIA and other government entities. And quickly after that, Ruby had cancer, very fast moving cancer, and died within a couple of months.
Interesting. That's crazy. I mean, so there's so much evidence that everything that the U.S. government told us that happened on that day was false. Why falsify it? I guess we'll just start it off right there. I mean, why try to hide it? What is so important about hiding the evidence that the U.S. government didn't kill JFK? Or if
I don't understand your question.
Like, so why fake it? Why try to fake the fact that it was an inside job?
Well, I mean, I don't understand. It's like you're not going to go out and say, yes, we killed our own president.
Yeah.
This is what the CIA, this is what the Office of Navy Intelligence did back then. They killed people for gain of power, and to this day, I mean, it's still happening. The ONI, which nobody talks about these days, is higher than the CIA. That runs the CIA, that runs the U.S. government. It's the Office of Navy Intelligence, and that's where you have your government within a government. And there's people in there who direct what's going on in this world, and there's that's who pretty much at the end of the day gave the final decree to go ahead, because he's not giving us what we want as a president, and we need to take him out. But at the same time, you can't just do that and have fingers point back at your own government, because that would cause a uprising, a civil war, distrust in the government, and they don't want that. They want complete confidence in themselves so they can keep controlling you and controlling the people.
Yeah.
So
when I find that so fascinating, especially in how things are now. There's so many things in history that it's been shown to us that the media and our own government is hiding shit from us, but yet there's so many people who are still entrusting with this information that they're being told by the media and all this stuff. And I mean, look back as far as the Boston Massacre. I'm sure there's been stuff before the Boston Massacre, but look at the way that they handled that, just to persuade a bunch of people to go against their home country. And it's very fascinating how people are still just gullible, and they don't have those free thinking minds that you should be having now. There's so many moments in history where it's like, come on, guys, you gotta look at the facts.
Well, there was Operation Mockingbird, which Kennedy was totally against, and that was there's about maybe 4 different reasons why Kennedy was killed.
Okay.
This was one of them. Operation Mockingbird came from the ONI. through the CIA. And basically, that was a precedence that we will now control the media to push propaganda against our enemies. And we will create disasters on our own land to further that propaganda. So basically, imagine if they were to allow or be a part of flying planes into some buildings just to create a war and give the okay for a war in a different country.
Seems a little on the nose. Seems like you're talking about a certain event.
Well, I mean, that was pretty much it. That one of the things actually that was brought up in the presentation to Kennedy was, well, how do we do this propaganda? What are we talking about here? And basically, I don't know who, because I don't know who's in the meeting, obviously, but it was basically, well, we can have a plane disaster and blame it on the Russians. And he's like, so you're talking about killing American civilians? And Kennedy was out at that point. Kennedy was, nope, not doing it. And they were pissed. I mean, CIA was pissed. Oh, and I was like, we need this. And with that, and wanting to end Vietnam, the Bay of Pigs, and not wanting to go further into war and cause issues with other nations, they consider him a threat to the nuclear safety of the country.
That's
and
insane.
It's like, it's insane, right? And that was their reasoning. And they felt that, well, he's soft on communism. It's like, no, he's not. I mean, he had a dislike for Castro as far as a president goes and a leader, but he didn't want to send any more Americans to their deaths. There's
How
already
dare
too many
you?
lives. It's awful. I mean, I know that the oil men are going to make tons of money off this, and so will the politicians. But let's think about the young boys that we're sending off here, because the draft was in effect, and we're sending people off to be killed that don't want to be killed. Nobody does, but don't want to be part of a war, period. And Kennedy was against all of this, and they didn't want that. They don't care about our kids at the end of the day. Hey, you're going to further our agenda. You're going to further us getting more power. And we need to take over this country because it's not being ran how we want. And there's something there that we want, whether it be oil or, minerals or whatever it may be. But at the end of the day, you don't think like we do. So we got to get rid of you. And, so Mockingbird was that kind of thing that Kennedy was against. And sure enough, after he passed and after he was assassinated, Lyndon Johnson thought it was a great idea. And they kind of reworked it a little bit. And it's not called Mockingbird, but it's definitely...
Yeah, so at what point did us, the public, know about Operation Mockingbird? Or was it always something that was kind of that the public knew about, but maybe we just didn't kind of have all the facts about it, or like maybe it was being told that it was something else than it actually was, or was it just something that we found out about it as we were delving into this issue?
Well, I don't know when it became, apparent to the American public, but I would imagine by 77 or maybe 76, when the House Select Committee of Assassinations was being formed, that or 74, that stuff that they were talking about had come to light. So I would probably say about maybe 74 or so.
Okay, interesting. Yeah. I mean, it's crazy because you said that the guy who came in and replaced Kennedy, he was he was like all for Operation Mockingbird, but they kind of like mixed it up a little bit. So I'm very curious how
Well,
if that is still in effect in today's day and age.
well, I don't know which president brought it in, but there was what was called a Smith-Mundt Act,
Mm-hmm.
and that was a law that stopped our media from broadcasting or pushing agendas and propaganda, bias information, and that was in full effect from I think the 80s. Maybe Reagan brought it in. I could be wrong, but Uncle Obama, and Obama got rid of that act,
Interesting.
and that's when we started seeing a very leaning media to one side, and has been ever since.
Yeah, it's very interesting that you say that because it's I feel like ever since Obama became president, that's where I feel politics was more pushed, or not pushed, but more known about, kind of more talked about between people, and more device, if you will. um,
Yeah.
but but yeah. So I guess going back to the whole to the topic at hand. Kind of give us the whole rundown of how it started and then I guess ended. I don't know. Kind of just give us a rundown just of the beginning of it all. I mean,
Which part?
how far do you think into the JFK's presidency were they planning this?
So he got elected in 60. I believe the summer of 62, they started saying, we
Okay.
got to get rid of this guy, and we got to figure something out here. And the groundwork was laid, by gosh, you can look back at LBJ himself, and he was so LBJ, being the vice president at the time, had such a huge clash with Robert Kennedy, and Robert Kennedy hated LBJ. So there was a big thing with them, and of course JFK was not a huge fan. He was kind of pushed to take LBJ as his vice president. Wasn't his first pick, but because there was the conflict with Robert Kennedy, well, JFK is going to take his brother's side because Robert Kennedy was his confidant and the only person he could really trust. And so he's always going to take Robert's side for the most part. So, once they started talking about, okay, it's 62, we're halfway there in this cycle, and his first term, we got to start looking at the next term. And there was rumors that Kennedy was going to drop Lyndon Johnson from the ticket as vice president and look for a different vice president for re-election. This blew Johnson's mind because he was, everything that I've done on him, everything that I've read up on him, he was a very narcissistic person. He was the greatest thing ever, and he was going to be president one day, no matter what. And he had a big criminal past. I mean, he was caught doing things, and there's a lot of stuff that he was going to be in trouble for, and there was a couple of hearings that he was going to have to be done coming up the next spring, I believe it was, and that's part of why Kennedy wanted him off the ticket, is because he was getting into some legal trouble, and that all disappeared once he became president because by default, right?
Yeah.
And Life magazine had in October of that year, Life magazine had a picture of him and another guy, I forget his name, that was not good. It was mentioning that they had some legal troubles, and after the assassination, it was Life magazine. Hey, look at this, our great president, LBJ. So they switched stories real quick after the assassination.
Yeah.
and tried to give a different outlook of who he was. And you can go back and Google, Time magazine covers and stuff, and see all that, and see the difference in 2 months.
Probably throw up a picture or something.
Yeah. So, but yeah.
Interesting. So, you weren't alive when he got assassinated, I'm assuming.
This guy.
But I feel, because I feel around the time that you were looking into all this, would you say that it was still kind of a hot topic to talk about, or was it kind of just like yesterday's news, kind of how it is today, of like, oh yeah, we all know that that it was an inside job. It's just we kind of just don't care, because it's been so long.
Well, I think it goes in waves because, when the documentary The Men Who Killed Kennedy came out, that was like, holy shit. And that was in the late 80s, I think. And that kind of, sparked up a whole, oh my God, and I believe it's banned on streaming services here. I don't know. I think the only place to watch it is YouTube. I have it on DVD, which, it's a prized possession because there's not many places you can really watch it, I don't think. But that has, eyewitnesses. Because remember, this is 88, I think it was. So it's only 20 something years after the fact. People are still alive. People are giving their first-hand accounts. It's not secondhand in a book. It's not something on a podcast. It's not something on an interview from somebody else. But these are all witness accounts that are on there. And that was bashed by, the government and CIA and ridiculed. So that sparked a new interest in it. And then you had the JFK movie. I think that was 94, 95 maybe. I can't remember. And again, that sparked more interest. But, the media does its thing and ignores a lot of it. So people, unfortunately, are trained to buy into what the media has to say. And, that kind of tapered off again. And now with the current administration wanting to and having released files to do with the assassination, that's regenerated more interest in it. And you've got a lot of podcasts out there. Unfortunately, some of the podcasts that they have a lot of the information, but they also then go off on their own tangent, and a lot of stuff I agree with, a lot of stuff I disagree with, because at the end of the day, we're basing this and they're basing their assumptions off of, testimonies that maybe we've been able to see. There's a lot that we're not allowed to see. People who are related to witnesses, people who are, friends with somebody who knew the guy, so you don't know until you really dig and dig and dig, what's true and what's not. At the same time, it's so spread out. And this is how it's the Office of Navy Intelligence and the CIA. It's because it's not just, hey, we'll get this guy, we'll put him up there, and we'll make this happen. No, there's so many people involved and so many bases to cover, which they've done over the years. But I think that the more that we see of these documents that got released, it doesn't really give us any inside information because it's just the basics of what they want us to see, really. At the end of the day, there's a ton more documents that are not available to us. There's interviews from witnesses, from Oswald, from Ruby, that were not being shown. Whether they still exist or not, I don't know. But there's a lot of gaps and there's a lot of things missing.
Yeah.
And you can go into AI and get the cliff notes of the documents that were released, and it's kind of like, okay. But I think that's regenerated more interest.
Because I know Trump signed something to get I forgot what he signed, but it was to like release those files. But
right, we weren't supposed to release the 2039 or 2036 or something, but he pushed him out sooner.
Gotcha. And those files, did it reveal anything interesting, or was it just kind of like a wet fart or something? You know, it was just like whatever.
Yeah, in a way, it was kind of like that. I mean, it was kind of like, okay. But
Yeah.
it does tell you there's more to it. It just doesn't tell you what and who. And there's so much redactions. And I'm tired of this redaction BS because all you're doing, you're not protecting anything for, security of the nation. It's been 62 years. Okay? All you're doing is just protecting the guys who were in charge back then.
Yeah.
And that makes me distrust the people who are in charge now.
Yeah.
So if you want me to really have faith in our intelligence and our government, I mean, own up to it and say, hey, look, this is what they did. And it's awful and it happened. And be like, okay, got it. But when they're lying and they're still lying 62 years later, it's kind of like...
It makes you feel like it could happen again. It could.
Almost did.
And it almost did. It almost did. Yeah, I mean, it again, watching that JFK movie, it's just, it's a window looking through, like it's like a window that I'm looking through at a different time period, but yet it's almost as if it's a mirror. Like that is just looking back at the same time period we're in. It's just they don't have phones and the internet,
right.
Right. And it's just wild to me, this whole thing of how big it is, and it just makes you wonder how many other incidents that have happened in our history that was successfully covered up, and
so many. I mean, you look at Seth Rich in Washington D.C. He was murdered. There's no doubt about it that he was murdered, and it was done so he'd keep his mouth shut about what he knew about certain politicians.
Interesting. I'm not sure who that is.
I'll let you Google that. So we can stay on the JFK topic. But,
yeah.
Seth Rich is definitely somebody that you want to look at.
Okay.
Julian Assange getting arrested and being held in a prison in England, I believe it was, or somewhere for years because he had information on the government, but he was a risk to intelligence. He was a risk to the safety of the nation. It's like that every time, that they kind of, put the onus on that person. It's like, well, if he says this, if he says certain things, he's going to be a risk. No, he's not. He's going to risk your job. He's going to risk you being exposed for all the criminal shit that you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
So, but anyway, back to JFK.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I know this is about his assassination and everything, but ever since I could remember, you've always said that JFK is your favorite president, and what about him makes you have him as your favorite president? Does the whole assassination play into that? Like that whole just, man, it's so interesting to learn about this whole thing, and just kind of solidifies how important he is. And was that kind of just what was like, yep, this dude's the man. The fact that his own government had to turn up against him, like, well, what about him spoke to you and put that label on him?
Well, I mean, if you go back and listen to his speeches, they are so good. I mean, his speeches were just what you would want to hear from a president, right? And from the fact that he wanted to end wars, didn't want to send anybody's kids off to be killed. War is sometimes necessary. I get it. And he believed that. It's like, if it's necessary, we'll go to war. But I'm not sending kids over to Vietnam just to be killed. We need to pull out of Vietnam and get that out of there. We don't need to go to Cuba, and we don't need to start another war somewhere else. That, he was all about civil rights and making sure that, the black community had the same rights as the white community. And he was very much in tune with that. And him and Dr. Martin Luther King. And again, he wasn't a perfect person. He definitely, personally, he had some things that he was doing behind his wife's back that I don't agree with. A lot of affairs, but I'm not wanting to, spend Christmas with him. Again, it's as a president, as the job that he's elected to do. That's why I had so much respect for him, because the job that he was doing was so good. And if a corrupt government is totally against him, then he's doing something right. And same thing could be said today. Does our current president talk like very eloquently? No, he's an average dude who just talks whatever. But the job he's doing as a president, he's building something that's going to help our economy and our future. And that's why I respect him. And I give every president, no matter what side they're on, left, right, independent, the benefit of the doubt. And I'm not a citizen, but I would have voted for Obama the first time, because what he was saying was great.
Oh yeah,
didn't do what he said, but
yeah, he talked really well.
Mm-hmm.
Obama had that silver tongue, maybe gold tongue. I don't know.
That's why I like Kennedy, and I think him being shot down, and not having a chance to run again, I think he would have won, no problem. And they didn't want that. I mean, that could not happen as far as, the government within our government was concerned, because there is a government within our government, whether people want to believe that or not. And that's the deep state now is what we call them, right? And that's who they are. And that's fine. People don't want to believe it. That's fine. But this is why Kennedy was killed, and this is who killed Kennedy.
That's crazy. I mean, so looking at this, were there other events prior to this assassination that you looked at or heard about because of this? I don't want to go off topic too much, but it's just kind of a question that I have on the mind.
No, not at all. I mean, this is just something that popped up on TV one night when I was a teenager. And I was like, what the hell? I mean, I got to watch this again. This is fascinating. Mm-hmm. And then, later, do I believe this? I got to research this. Is this true? And, the more I dug deeper, it's like, wow. And the inconsistency.
And how old were you?
Oh my gosh, I don't know. 16, I don't know.
Yesterday?
It's just 2 years ago.
Yeah. That's crazy. I mean, at 16, you were even like, this is crazy. Let me look into this. You did your research. A lot of things that, I don't know, people your age now won't even do. My age won't even do today.
Well, I couldn't do much research then because we didn't have the internet then.
Yeah.
But I, tried to. We had encyclopedias and stuff like that, and I'd go to the library and see if there's anything there, which there wasn't much. But, once the internet came along, and that's when I, okay, let me look into this a little bit. And again, there wasn't too much out there. But, later on, when I got Mark Lane's book, Rush to Judgment, which is, as far as I'm concerned, one of the best books on the assassination that you could probably purchase. That really, okay, this is good information. And Mark Lane is one of the guys who really spurred on, the investigations into the government, and he maybe got Jim Garrison to really pursue his lawsuit against people like Clay Shaw and those in New Orleans, which is what the JFK movie is based on. But Mark Lane, he, tirelessly went around exposing a lot of stuff and spent so much time just, uncovering some of the craziest stuff.
Yeah. I mean, tell me about what Jim Garrison, right? Jim Garrison.
Yeah.
Yeah, tell me about Jim Garrison. I mean, from what I saw in the JFK movie, all I'm seeing is Kevin Costner, and but
So
but
here's a fun tip. You probably didn't notice this because you don't know who Jim Garrison is, but the
yeah.
judge in the movie is actually Jim Garrison.
Oh no shit, that's
Yeah.
pretty dope. That's pretty dope. At the end of the movie during the trial, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's pretty cool. I mean, I can't even imagine. I mean, that I feel like that movie did such a good job of encapsulating how much stress and how much how much it took over his life to just try and get the truth out. And man, like just watching that movie, I was like, man, this guy, he's going after it. He's putting all his effort into this, and I feel like the movie did such a good job of like portraying how that affects the people his family, the people he hangs out with, and all this stuff. And I can only imagine how many friends that he lost, or even potential friends that he could have gained from this. And it's especially because the media at the time was just like, dude, this guy's crazy, making up all these lies about him, and just kind of like I don't know. It's insane to look at now, because it makes you think of all these people that they paint in the media now, of like, all these people are terrible people. It's like, well, are they really? Because like, why would you tell me that they're terrible? Oh, of course, because they're terrible. But like, you got to do research sometimes, and
Right.
and it really puts things into perspective, and it's kind of scary too, of how that it doesn't matter if they're telling the truth or not. Like, it's still going to be put out there, and
Yeah.
like,
Well, yeah, everybody ridiculed Jim Garrison because, again, Operation Mockingbird, the media went after him.
yeah,
Whether you want to call it Mockingbird or not. But Jim Garrison went to sue CBS and the Johnny Carson show because they were, ridiculing him. So in an effort to get around that, they gave Jim Garrison time to himself on the show one night. And I think it was like 45 minutes. They let him give his side of things. And that was a brilliant move by Garrison, because now he has the audience because late night TV back then was the thing. That was,
yeah,
you didn't have a million channels back in the 70s, and that was a brilliant move by Garrison. So he got on there, and I encourage anybody to go ahead and YouTube that, Jim Garrison on Johnny Carson.
yeah. I'm gonna have to watch that.
His whole breakdown of why he believes what he believes, and the research that he's done, and the evidence that he has.
Wow. So, at the time of you getting into this topic, you had already known who Jim Garrison was, or did it take more research?
Oh yeah.
Did so at this point, did you know? So you had no idea who he was when you first found?
Not until the movie came out. Because when the movie first came out, yeah. I mean, again,
so that, which is surprising, because you didn't hear any lies about him, or falsifications about him at the time. So you just were completely blank when it came to Jim Garrett. That's interesting, because you would think something like that, maybe not, but you would think something like that, they would want everybody to know, hey, this guy's a liar, this guy's crazy, no matter what he says, you don't trust him,
well, I'm still in Ireland at this time, so
okay,
they don't carry that stuff over there.
Okay. And I'm sure the news was a little delayed as well.
Yeah, and they just, you're going to hear what we want you to hear.
Yeah,
it's same thing where back in the 50s and 60s, before the internet and all that stuff, newspapers were regional. And if they wanted New York to know something about what's going on politically, but they want to kind of keep that away from the Chicago people or the LA people, because they don't want it to hurt the party out there, or, whatever they're trying to do politically out there, they won't be put in those newspapers. So they'll put certain things, in a East Coast newspaper, that may not be in a West Coast newspaper because of what they're trying to do politically, and vice versa. So, you know, you don't hear everything, in Europe back then that is necessarily, being talked about over here in the States, and vice versa.
Interesting. That's crazy. It's just crazy how without the internet, just news is just so like delayed.
Yeah. Or not even talked about.
Yeah, that too. Just swept under the rug. Wow. Well, I mean, how much did hearing about all this affect you? Like, did you lose sleep over this? I mean, was it kind of like something where your whole world was turned upside down, or like what was your main takeaway of all of this after uncovering the truth about this? Was it just like, man, like I need to have a couple drinks?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's definitely eye-opening, right? It makes you question a lot of things. If they're lying about this, then, killing the leader of their own country and the most powerful man in the world, what else are they lying about, right?
Yeah, and
So,
who's they?
well, the government. I mean, the government themselves. It's. I mean, they is a very broad stroke of the brush because there's so many people involved, so many people, and that's still how it's done today. I mean, there's so many people. You know, talk about the actual assassination. You got to go back to how it happened, why it happened, and who not just made it happen, but like Oswald was just the guy that they decided to use. It could have been anybody else because they've been grooming different guys over the years, but he was just the guy that decided to use for this, and that was that. And they look for those type of guys, the guys who maybe so Oswald was 24 when he was killed. Okay, when this all went down.
It's crazy. He was a year younger than me.
Yeah, right. But he was very mature as far as world knowledge and stuff like that goes, but emotionally, he was very immature, and that's why he latched on to the people that he latched on to. His father died before he was born. His mother, she kind of bounced around different guys and wasn't always the best mother. I mean, I think she tried the best she could, considering she had 3 kids, Lee being the youngest, and trying to provide. But, back then when, women really didn't work so much and they were homekeepers, she was trying to find another man who was going to be able to help pay the way and so she could stay home and take care of the kids. I get it. Different time, different situation. Can't judge her because, that's just the way it was. But then her sister was married to a guy, Charles Moret, who, this is in New Orleans because that's where he was born and raised, who was involved with the CIA and the FBI, the mob and all that. He knew guys from all these different things. Not that he was involved as like he was working for them, but he knew guys and put them in touch with each other because the mob back then, they would work for the CIA. They would do different things for the CIA. And the mob would, they'd get away with certain things. That's why they got away with a lot of things in New York for so long and in Chicago for so long and New Orleans for so long, because as long as they stayed out of the government's way and helped them when they needed help, they would get away with it. And then Rudy Giuliani came in and he started shutting down the mob, and that was putting an end to that situation. But go back to the 50s, and in 56, Oswald joined the Marines, and he went to Atsugi in Japan,
He voluntarily joined. He wasn't drafted or anything. Okay.
Right. Well, he was kind of directed that way. Okay. This was so Moret kind of started guiding him in a way that's like, hey, you should be more, because again, Oswald was not your typical dude, right? He was just not a loner, but he dropped out of high school. He bounced off to New York, came back to New Orleans, was kind of looking for something. He was looking for a situation to be a part of.
Yeah.
And Moret knew this. So he's like, you know what? Here's what you should be doing. And he sent him off to the Marines. Now, they said that he was a lone nut, right? Which he wasn't. Yes, he was kind of bouncing around trying to find himself, but he got along really great with the guys in the Marines. And whether that's by design or because they really liked him, I don't know. But they hung out with him, and he was a part of that clique. And he learned Russian because they said he should learn Russian, right?
Okay.
We're in a war with Russia, so he's already started to be groomed for a certain situation.
And
the situation is,
that's why they told him to learn Russian, I'm guessing, so that they could, it would be easy to pass this guy off as a communist. Well, look at him; he knows Russian. know.
So that's it. So while he was there, he was working on the U-2 spy planes, right, as a radar operator. Easy for me to say. And while he was there, he got to know a policeman from Dallas. He wasn't a policeman there yet, but his name is J.D. Tippit. And a lot of people say that him and Tippit never knew each other. Well, they did. They got to know each other there. And pretty soon after, Oswald was discharged from the Marines. And this was part of the plan. They were going to use him as somebody who could go to Russia and get information. So here's a guy that doesn't have much money, doesn't have an education, but now he's able to get himself over to Russia and want to, declare asylum over there, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they bring that. So the Russians, hey, we'll take an American, but the Russians aren't stupid, right? So he's under surveillance with the KGB 24/7. Because they want to make sure that this American's not coming in, stealing our information, trying to plot against us, whatever it may be. So he gets working in a radio factory, because radios were a big thing back then. And that's where he meets Marina Oswald. Well, Marina, whatever her last name was back then. And I believe that she was a plant by the KGB as a honeypot. Right? And a honeypot is basically... when they have a woman seduce you or pretend to be interested in you, so you'll give up the information because, some men fall for that and they get weak, So they end up getting married real quick, having a daughter. Now, if you've ever seen the movie or the TV show, The Americans,
I've heard of it. Is it good?
This is a very much same kind of storyline.
Is the show good?
Show's great.
Okay.
Show's amazing. Like anything else, towards the end, kind of, but then at the end, the last season's like, holy shit, right?
Okay.
But anyway, so now he wants out of Russia. I think he just felt that he was being left there. He wants out of Russia. He comes back. Right? Now, if you've defected from the United States during a war, and then you come back, would you expect there to be any consequences or some kind of repercussions for doing that? I would expect so.
Yeah, you would expect. I mean, what the fuck was I doing out there?
Right. Instead, they sent him to live in Dallas, Texas.
Interesting.
And because, again, Oswald is their guy. Now, at this point, that was 61, I think, when he comes back. So they at this point they knew that they were going to have something going down somewhere in the South, and that's going to be his position, right? So he's living there, and there is a guy called George de Mohrenschildt, who's also a Russian defector.
Okay.
And I don't know what it was. It was Moret who introduced Oswald to the Mohrenschildt. Right? Now, the Mohrenschildt works for CIA, works for ONI, has all these contacts. So, again, this is part of, hey, this is Oswald. This is the guy that we're going to use for whatever. So let's groom him. Let's keep grooming him. We've been grooming him for years. But again, Oswald is just one of many people that they've done this with. You know, it just happens so that now he's in Dallas, and there's going to be a motorcade coming through in '63 that they're going to use him for. He's just a guy in that place. So anyway, they introduce Oswald to Ruth Paine and her husband Michael Paine, who have ties to CIA and, you know, knows Russian, all that good stuff.
There were also
so many
pains in the neck.
Yeah, and Ruth Paine just died a few weeks ago.
Oh, all right.
And she denied stuff till the end, but she also made comments about certain things that were written about her and movies that were like, oh, well, that's kind of interesting, and that's terribly good, you know, stuff like that, you know. But she was smart. She was a tough lady who never cracked. And I tell you what, she was the reason why she died of old age instead of being killed is because she never once, you know, went back on anything that she was trained to do.
Damn.
Yeah, and she was living in Central to Northern California in a home. And even though she divorced, you know, 40 years ago from her husband Michael, he ended up in the same home with her. And you know, that's interesting. So anyway,
what's so interesting about that?
Well, they both lived in Dallas, Texas, and they're divorced for 40 years.
But they get sent to the same home
in Central California.
Yeah, it's a little odd.
There's no other homes in Texas. There's no other old folk homes and anywhere else in the country.
Well, yeah, because it's more expensive to live out in California.
Right?
That's why they did it. It's more expensive out here. Come on.
So Ruth Paine, she really attaches herself to Marina, and Michael Paine really attaches himself to Lee Harvey Oswald. Now, all of a sudden, hey, if you're looking for a job, I know a guy at the Texas School Book Depository. You should go down there and ask him for work. I'm sure he'll give you a job. And this was 2 months before the assassination. So Lee goes down there the next day. The guy says, "Sure, no problem. You know, come on, work with us. I've been expecting you," kind of thing. So Lee's working there for 2 months before the assassination. 2 months before the assassination, Tippit started working for the Dallas police.
Okay.
Now we know J.D. Tippit, right? He's a cop that was killed by apparently Oswald.
Okay.
Right? So Oswald, 2 months before the assassination, works at the Texas Book Depository. And Tippit, 2 months before, starts working for the Dallas Police Department. How convenient, right?
So convenient.
Everything right now is very convenient, right? Meeting Marina, who's right.
But I think what's crazy is like this. We're looking at it from 62 years ago. You know, at the time, nobody would have thought anything of it. which I think is like is a horror story within itself. Of like
Yep.
you're going throughout your whole life thinking you're in control. You got you got life by the balls, but no, it's another power that's got you by the balls, and and you realize it way before it's too late. you know,
Right.
that's what creeps me out about hearing about all this is just, man, it's like I don't know, it's just eye opening of like, man, I what if I'm not even in control of my own life? Like, what if I'm going to be set up to assassinate the fucking 86th president at some point? I don't know. Who knows?
And then that's just it. Up until this point, you could say, up until the day of the assassination, you could say everything is very coincidental with no proof. But then once the assassination happens, that's when you go, well, wait a second. This wasn't true. Because all the inconsistencies on that day, even before, on the morning of, up till even the shots were fired, there's so many inconsistencies that, as smart as they were, they did not cover all our tracks, right? So, earlier that summer, right before he came back to Dallas, he was going back and forth to New Orleans, right? And he was out there, and he was handing out leaflets, hands off Cuba, right? To make him look like he was all for Castro and stuff like that, right? So
damn, dude, that's just crazy.
and that's what the CIA does. It's like, hey, this is what we need you to do. Go. And you do it. And if you're in the CIA, you have a choice. You do it or there's consequences. They have a lot of people on the ground, around the world that they just wait on a phone call, and that's what they're told to do, and they go and do it. So anyway, that was a big thing. He was, he did some radio interviews where he said he was a socialist Marxist, and it was all this stuff, and that's in New Orleans.
He said he wasn't a socialist. He was, no, he wasn't a communist. He was a socialist Marxist or something. Yeah, Marxist Leninist was what was in the movie. Yeah,
right. That's probably correct. That's more accurate then. So anyway, there's that, and then it goes all the way to. So he's working at, and this is all the CIA operatives on the ground have jobs that the CIA gets them, and that's where they work for a reason. Like, they will get you a job overseas at an oil company because they want to know what's going on inside the oil company or stuff in that town. And your job is to not just work there, but to mingle with certain people and gather information. And that's how, intelligence works. So he's working at the book depository, and from Monday through Thursday, Friday, he stays at a rooming house a few blocks, well, not a few blocks, like a mile and a half or so away from the book depository. And then the weekend he goes home and spends time with Marina and the kids. Now, where Marina lived with the Paynes was 13 miles from, so it's not really that far, but Oswald didn't drive.
Mm-hmm.
And that was, again, something that they didn't want him having a driver's license. Why wouldn't he get a driver's license just to drive 13 miles?
Well, why?
Right?
I mean, sorry if I'm getting ahead of myself, but why didn't they want him to drive?
Well, then he has to stay closer to the event, and
Gotcha.
He has no reason to be away, and he can't just get in a car and go. They have full control over him.
Gotcha. Makes sense.
Yeah. So that morning, the official government story is Oswald left the house and he had a package under his arm, which he said was curtain rods. And the guy who lived next door to Marina and Ruth Payne actually worked with him, conveniently enough, at the Texas Book Depository. So he would come and pick up he would come pick up Oswald, and they'd drive down to the depository together. So, Bueller Wesley Frazier is the guy's name, and he's since been proven to have some connections with the CIA. So he said that Oswald had that package under his arm. His mother, I believe, Bueller Wesley Frazier's mother, who lived next door and saw them, said he didn't have anything, just his lunch in his pocket. And there's some other witnesses who also say that he didn't have that package under his arm at all. So that was a story
Jesus.
that was given to Bueller, to Frazier, who at first didn't report that, but after the FBI or CIA grilled him, threatened him, according to his brother, he admitted or made up that he had those curtain rods. Now, why curtain rods, of all things? Well, Frazier, in a previous job, was a curtain rod salesman. So that's just what he came up with, because he knew curtain rods more than anything. And he could say, well, I can give you an honest opinion of curtain rods if somebody questions me on it. So that was what the story ended up being, because, Frazier sold curtain rods for a living before the book depository. So
Interesting.
from there, Oswald would hang out with, back at 63. Remember, this is 1963.
1963. Ancient times.
On the second floor, where the black employees had their lunch. Now, Oswald would always go there and have lunch with them because he didn't believe in the segregation of things. Right? Awesome.
What a terrible human being. Sounds like somebody who would assassinate the president.
Right. But now, here's the thing. I do believe that he knew something was happening that day. He didn't fire a damn gun that day at all. But he was smart enough to know that something was going on. And, I can get into what I believe he thought momentarily. But here's the thing. Once the motorcade was 15 minutes late. So at that time, Oswald was on the second floor having lunch when the motorcade came through and the shots were fired and everything. And that was widely said by witnesses who were then discredited from the Warren Commission report. Because all these witnesses came out beforehand, but some weren't even allowed to testify in the Warren Commission. Some were killed before then. Some were just totally ignored.
That's
right?
crazy.
So there was witness statements that he was on the second floor having lunch. And when the police officers first came up, because they were told, oh, up there, because there's so many people on the ground, part of this, it was probably a good 30, 40 people on the ground who were there doing their job to make sure that the assassins got away and they went to that one spot. But again, this motorcade being 15 minutes late really saved Oswald from being killed in the book depository, which is where I think he was supposed to be killed in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a gentleman there, of course, Bonnie Ray Williams. I almost forgot his name. Bonnie Ray Williams, black gentleman who worked with Oswald, and he went up there and had his lunch on the 6th floor. Now, he moved some boxes to make a little table for himself and have his chicken wings and all that. Well, because he moved the boxes, that kind of left the sniper's nest open a little bit, and they couldn't have that. So I believe there's a guy called Mac Wallace, who was LBJ's, right-hand man. And Mac Wallace was in that building, in my opinion. And I believe Oswald let him in there that day in the back door. Now, how did the rifle get in there and everything? Well, Mac Wallace had it. And Mac Wallace and maybe Oswald, not sure, set it up. So then when Bonnie Ray Williams was finished with lunch, they had to go back and get all these boxes back. And people remember seeing a guy who fit the description of Mac Wallace up in the window of the 6th floor. But they didn't think anything of it because they thought it was just Secret Service because he was in a suit. He was in a suit and looked like he was official. And that's Mac. If you ever see a picture of Mac Wallace,
it'll be
absolutely looks like Secret Service.
Probably throw it up. Yeah.
Yeah. So, being 15 minutes late, I think Oswald was up there, and he would have been set up then. But because it's lunchtime now, I'm going to go down and have my lunch, and now the motorcade's coming. It's a little late, and once everything went down, people were told he's not rushing. He's not running out the door. He's got a can of soda he just got from the soda machine. When the cops come in, and they asked the manager, "Who's this guy?" "Oh, he works here." "Okay." And they rush on by. And I think Oswald was kind of like, all right. And everybody was told to go home. And Oswald left, didn't leave in a hurry. There's witnesses that see him getting on a bus.
That
crazy. Bus got jammed. Huh?
That's crazy.
Yeah. Gets on a bus. But the bus, because of the traffic and everything, because of what just happened, they're sitting there for a good 5-10 minutes, and he's just like, fuck. So he gets off the bus, goes get a taxi over at the taxi depot, and then takes that to go home. Now, again, he's not panicking, he's not rushing, like he just killed the most powerful man in the world. But I definitely believe that he's kind of like, I got to lay low. I got to do what I need to do. I got to go to my spot where I'm supposed to meet in case shit went down. Because I believe when it came to Oswald, they told him, hey, we hear there's a plot against the president, and we need you to help to stop it. Because Marina and his mom, mispronounced her name, Margette, Reed, said that he didn't hate the president, and that's why I don't believe he did it, because not the only reason, but he thought highly, apparently, of JFK. That's something that I had read a long time ago. And so I don't believe that, he was actually in the knowing of I'm part of this plot to kill the president. I'll tell you why I think that in a few minutes. But more of he was part of a team who's going to try and stop an assassination from Cubans or, other Russians or whomever it may be. And he was told, if you hear shots, just get out of there and go meet your handler at the theater, and we'll pick you up there. So he goes back to the house after he gets out of the cab and goes back to the house. And while he's in the house, the housekeeper, he rushes by her. Now this is where he starts, not rushed by her, but he walked by her without really saying anything, right?
Yeah.
And she thought that was kind of weird because he looked like he was distracted, I guess. And she had just heard, the president's been killed and all that, and he's now. I think that's what's messing with his head is like, shit, it happened. Fuck, we messed up, But he's by himself. He does not, he's not in the same team. He thinks he's on. So there's a cop car outside, honks, real, beep beep, not like a big long honk, just a quick honk, twice. And the housekeeper looks out because typically some of the cops will come by because she knows the cops' wives, and they'll say, hey, my wife says, hey, this, can you bring this over? Or my wife says, hey, meet her down. Again, no internet, no cell phones, all that good stuff. So she looks out and it's not the cop cars that she knows. So she's like, oh, okay, it's not them. And then the cop car takes off. Okay. A couple of minutes later, Oswald leaves the house and he goes to the bus stop across the street. So he's not rushing anywhere. Right?
Mm-hmm.
The official report is, once they found out, okay, there's witnesses, he went home. Now the official report is he went home, changed, and then he got into a car that drove him home. He got into a bus and then a cab that they admit that drove him home, and then left the house and then ran to the theater, right? Well, nobody saw him running to a theater. So he goes to the bus stop, and then once she gets her coat on or whatever and leaves the house, he's then gone from the bus stop. So she doesn't know if he got a bus, which there's no records of a bus being there at that time, or if he got picked up by somebody and they took him to the theater. So the rooming house is only down the street from the theater. If you go down the street and make a right and then go, quarter of a mile, if even that, there's a theater. So it's about a total mile from the rooming house to the theater. And when he gets there, there's different takes on this. Some people say he rushed in and bought a ticket, didn't buy a ticket, just rushed right in, and that alerted the cops to who he was. And a guy in a shoe store down the street said that he saw him acting weirdly, and then rushed into the theater, and he said to the lady who came out, because she heard the police and the commotion out there, did that guy pay? And she goes, the guy that was standing there? No, he didn't pay. Oh, you should call the police then. It's like, okay. I mean, there's a lot more going on at that day. Everybody knew that Kennedy was shot. Everybody knew that a cop was just shot. And this guy wants to call the police over a movie ticket. So I think that this guy had some knowledge and maybe was directing people a certain way. So that's the official narration of the story.
Well, just want to add on to that, because in the movie it said that when the cops showed up at the theater, there was 30 cop cars, or not cop cars, but 30 cops to show up at the theater. And it's like, why are there so many cops over? And if what you say, it was because of over a ticket, that's crazy,
Well, no, and I see what you're saying, but it was basically they were saying that that's the guy that killed Tippett, the cop, right?
Gotcha.
So if he killed another cop, we're all going to come after him,
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's kind of like the president was just killed. Why aren't you guys all over at Dealey Plaza trying to get him, right? Because, he matched the description. But the problem is, the description was, this guy had a white jacket on, right? Because here we go. Okay, so now let me finish the Oswald track, and then let me tell you about the what they want you to believe. So then Oswald somehow makes it to the theater. He walked, in my opinion. He walked.
Didn't have a license.
Panic. Didn't have a license. He just walked. It's only a mile. So nobody saw him running. Nobody even really saw him. But he gets there in ample amount of time that you would expect him to go from the bus to the taxi to the house, spend 3 minutes changing your jacket, get your gun, which is what he did, and then go over to the bus stop, and then maybe walk to the theater. Okay? The guy who was working the concession stand remembers Oswald and says, "Yeah, I sold him popcorn." And he sold him popcorn at like 110, which blows a hole in the whole J.D. Tippett thing, because they say J.D. Tippett got killed at 115. But Oswald's already at the theater. So 110, and Oswald bought popcorn, and then he went into the theater, and he sat next to the theater probably had 4 or 5 people in there. Maybe because it was the middle of the day. Maybe because people just heard the president was killed. They're not going to the movies.
Or they're showing a shitty movie.
Could be that too. Could be that too. But Oswald goes in a pretty much empty theater, goes and sits next to one guy, right next to him. And the guy thought it was really weird. And the guy just sat there kind of like, what he felt like forever because it was just so weird.
Yeah.
But then Oswald finally got up and moved to sit next to another person. So Oswald was looking for somebody. He was supposed to go there to meet his handler.
Gotcha.
And because they messed up and didn't save Kennedy, and it's what I believe, it was to get him out of there because they didn't want him to be next or to be, hunted down or whatever, right? So he went then to another guy, and then went to a pregnant woman, and she was like terrified because she saw him bouncing around, and she was just like, this guy's lunatic. So she left and went to the restroom, and while she was in the restroom, cops barged in and grabbed Oswald and arrested him. So let's go back to what they want you to believe. They want you to believe that he went to 10th Street, and that's where Tippit, the cop, ran into him, and Oswald killed Tippit. Well, if the whole walking that route, and the witnesses say they saw him coming from the west. Well, that would be the opposite way of the rooming house. So that wouldn't make sense. And witnesses did not describe the guy as Oswald. Couple eventually did after they were persuaded to, but most did not. And there was a lot of witnesses because there were people sitting on their porch. There was people just driving by. There were people walking.
Wow.
And they say that here comes Tippit down the street, and there's a guy walking towards Tippit's car on the sidewalk, the same direction, opposite direction. And Tippit kind of pulls over, and the guy leans down. They have a conversation through the little kind of triangle window in the car, the old cars. The window wasn't down. A lot of people said the window was down, but if you look at the crime scene pictures, it's just a little window that's open, and the window's not down. So the guy's talking through that. That's why he's leaning in, because he's talking through that window. Nobody knows what they said, but it seemed like a cordial conversation. But then the guy steps back, kind of like, and he's waiting there, and then Tippit gets out of the car. He gets out casually, not like he's in a hurry or anything like that, or he's, there's an issue. Puts his hat on, starts walking around with a hand on his gun. Some people say that's just how he walked, but he's got his hand on his gun, and as soon as he comes around the front of the car, this guy from the side here, right side, bam, 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 3 shots into his torso, and Tippit goes down. The guy starts to walk off along the sidewalk. Now, he must have heard Tippit moaning or knowing that he's not dead. So he goes around the back of the car onto the street and puts one last shot into his head and kills him.
Whew.
And then walks off.
This is in broad daylight, right?
It's in broad daylight. This is at 1:15 p.m.
Jesus Christ.
1:15 p.m. And in fact, and then there are some witnesses that say that there was another man on the sidewalk, and the shooter said to him, "Hey, go on." And some people say, well, there's 2 men that shot Tippit. Well, I think that was just somebody that came out and heard the first shots. And then when he came out, Tippit was, the guy was over him, killed him, saw the guy, didn't want another body, didn't want to have to wait around anymore. He did what he was supposed to do, and that was kill Tippit and get out of there. Right? So that guy walks off. Now, they said it was an automatic weapon. Well, an automatic weapon, when you're shooting, the shells are popping out.
Mm-hmm.
right? This guy's walking down the street and he's unloading the shells into his hand and tossing them into the yards as he's walking. So there's an inconsistency there with what they're trying to tell us.
Wow.
So
who killed Tippett?
well, I mean, that's up for debate. You know, it wasn't Oswald.
Yeah.
I would bet my life on that. It wasn't Oswald. Absolutely not. Couldn't be because of the timing. You know, and the Warren Commission, once they realized, because they had people walk it, they had people do it.
Yeah.
Once they realized the timing didn't work, they then, oh no, it was earlier. It was this time. You know, they changed a lot of things.
Fuckers, man. Yeah, because in the movie they talked about how by the time the police and everybody finds Harvey or Oswald on the second floor, when they searched the building, they said that if he was to be on the second floor and be the shooter, he would have had to have been out of breath. And that's the thing, because by the time he shot and by the time they saw him downstairs, it had to be like almost faster than a speeding bullet. Like you and the thing is he wasn't out of breath when they saw him on the second floor, you know?
And nobody from that building was brought to testify for him. And so I've been to Dealey Plaza once, right?
Yeah.
And I've been in the building, and now they have a nice new elevator, right? Because it's 2025. But back then it was just a freight elevator and a stairs. And the freight elevator took forever. I mean, that's just one of those things that goes real slow. And yes, the stairs, you would have to run down there. But he was already having lunch. He just finished his lunch in that room.
Yeah.
And I'd already bought a Coke. So you're telling me that he was able to, run down 4 flights, not be out of breath, go to the soda machine. So he's stopping for a soda, not getting out of the building, but stopping for a soda. Already has the soda in hand that he just bought. And now he's, I killed the president, by the way. You know?
And I'm going to go kill this cop before I go see a movie.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So insane. It's so insane. But because they left out a lot of these, these facts, they made it somewhat believable for that time, you know? But yeah, so, there's a lot of witnesses to the Tippett murder. 21 total witnesses. And once the cops got there, there was a second wallet, because this is where the miscommunication of everybody starts really hurting their whole conspiracy. There was a second wallet found at that Tippett scene, and it was Lee Harvey Oswald, and nothing really that pertains to him that he would have in his own wallet, but some ID. So like maybe I have a ticket to the dry cleaners or whatever. That would be my wallet. But they didn't have anything like that. Here's just some plain ID. Oh, it's his wallet. Look at that. He must be the guy that shot him. And that's where they were going with that, right? So Tippett was supposed to, in my opinion, Tippett was the guy who honked outside the house, and Oswald never came out.
Mm-hmm.
So Tippett goes looking for him and runs into this guy with the gun who's also looking for Oswald. And like, you've lost him. What the fuck? And I think it was like, at that point, we got to kill Tippett. So it was either kill Tippett after he kills Oswald, so it looks like a gun battle, or just kill Tippett because he screwed up. So, because beforehand, so Tippett, this part of Oak Cliff is not even on Tippett's radar. He's on a different part of town for his jurisdiction. Earlier in the day, he kissed his kid goodbye, told his kid, who he wasn't apparently very affectionate at all about his children, told his kid, if I don't see you again, just know I love you, when he left the house. Later that day, he was at a record store and went and made a phone call. Some people say that whoever's on the other end didn't answer. But again, the way the CIA did things and the way the NA, the Navy, National Intelligence did it, it was like you would listen and hang up, and that was it. There's no two-way communication, because that will, if it's being recorded, it's going to implicate somebody.
Yeah.
So I believe that he called and they said, go get Oswald, or go, bring him to the theater, do whatever it is. And because he slammed the phone down and dashed out of there. So
Damn.
the call wasn't made in the panic. The call was just, hey, I need to use your phone. Ba, 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 ba. And then the panic set in, and then he left. And so, there's inconsistencies with this guy on 10th Street that shot Tippit, right? And like one of the guys, Russell, he was shot in the head. He said, doesn't look like Oswald at all. Doesn't look like Oswald at all. Absolutely not him. Absolutely not him. You get shot in the head, survives. Yeah, that was Oswald for sure. For sure that was Oswald. Yep. Right?
Wow.
Yeah. So, Benito Benavides, who was the closest person to the whole thing, saw the guy talking to Tippit as he's driving down the street, sees the guy shooting Tippit, pulls over and ducks, and he's only like 20 feet from them. Only 20 feet from the whole Tippit murder. And stays down there because he's terrified now. He thinks he's going to get killed.
Yeah.
He just witnessed a guy shoot a cop. So he stays down there for probably like 5 minutes.
Wow.
Before he gets out, looks at Tippit, realizes he's dead. There's nothing he can do. Gets on Tippit's radio in the car and radios for help. And other people have obviously called down as well at this point to alert the cops that there's been shots fired and blah, blah, blah. So now here's what I believe happened. And again, this is my own take on it.
So it's the Doyled In truth.
No, I don't know about that. It's my opinion. Don't sue me. But this guy that shot Tippit came from Dealey Plaza, making his way down, looking for Oswald, most likely. Had to kill Tippit because that was probably the plan anyway, right? And that's why the other wallet was left there. Not by him, but by another cop who's also in on it. So there's so many different people, like from the Dallas Police Department. There's guys who are involved. There's guys who are not. CIA. There's guys who are involved. There's guys who are not. ONI. There's guys who are involved. There's guys who are not. It goes on, right?
Yeah.
And so this guy then kills Tippit and heads towards the theater because he knows that's where he's heading, because he knows that's where he's supposed to be, right? So we go back to Oswald, who came to the theater.
Excuse me.
Bless you.
Thank you.
And paid for popcorn and went and sat in his seats. And he was sitting 5 rows down, 3 seats in. He was there already. When all of a sudden, now here comes the Oswald lookalike, or whomever it is, rushing in, doesn't pay, and goes straight in, which alerts the cops, right? That's why the guy said, hey, you should call the cops. He didn't pay for anything.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that guy goes upstairs. There's a balcony in the theater.
Okay.
That guy went upstairs. He's done his job. He is now given the attention to the movie theater, and now here to come the cops, and they go in, they see Oswald, and they arrest him and take him out. And there's that famous picture where he's being arrested, he's being pulled out of the theater and put into a police car. So, they now take Oswald to jail, and Jack Ruby, who's very involved in all this, is given the task now of killing Oswald. Because I think Ruby was supposed to be part of a team that made sure that he didn't get out. He's the guy they're going to blame. So, but now he's out. You got to figure it out, dude. Kill him or be killed.
Yeah.
So there's Saturday evening. There's a presser with the police, and Jack Ruby's there. He's standing there, and Oswald's in jail at this point, and Ruby's standing up there, and he's looking. He's just observing everything. But Oswald, when he was arrested, he even said, "I'm a patsy." Why would he say that? Some people go, "Oh, he wanted to kill the president because he wanted to become famous and all that." Well, if you want to become famous, why didn't he say, "Yes, I did it"? Absolutely, and I killed a cop too.
Yeah.
Instead, if you go back and look at the footage, go to YouTube, look at the footage where he is being questioned by reporters as he's being led down the hallway, and he says, "I've just been charged." They ask him, "Do you know anything about the shooting of the president?" He's like, "I've just been charged with the police officer. That's all I've been told so far." "Well, you've been charged with..." No, you have been charged." And his face is just like what the,
Yeah.
If you look at that, you can tell it's a genuine, holy shit kind of face, to where now he knows. And then he says, I'm just a patsy, because now he realizes, okay, I've been set up here.
I like some legal representation, but these police officers have not allowed me to have any. I don't know what this is all about.
Kill the president?
No, sir, I didn't. People keep asking me that. Sir?
You shoot the president?
I work in that building.
Were you in the building at the time?
Naturally, if I work in that building, yes, sir.
Back up, man! Did you shoot the president?
No, they're taking me in because of the fact that I lived in the Soviet Union. I'm just a patsy.
President?
I'm just a patsy.
President?
The fact that I lived in the Soviet Union. I'm just a patsy.
President?
Is he innocent? No, because he's involved with the scummiest of the scum, and he did some shady shit throughout his years.
But what better person to frame?
Absolutely. So again, I feel that Mac Wallace was up on the 6th floor getting everything ready. No shots were fired from there. He placed all the casings. Right? You had over on the Daltex building, which is right across the street, same vantage point down, you had Billy Celestis, who maybe fired a shot or two from there. Okay? You had somebody from the overpass down in the corner. And you had the shooter on the grassy knoll. Right? Now, the first shot, I believe, came from the overpass into the throat. Because that's the first thing Kennedy does is this, right?
Yeah.
If you get shot in the back, you're going to go like that. Right? Now, I do believe he got shot in the back pretty much instantly. But this, being that it's the throat, and there's so much more, like you have your Adam's apple here, you have everything here. Right? He's grabbing this, and then he gets shot in the back, and his shoulders kind of go up a little bit, which is why I think, the shot then came from the back, which is the Daltex building. So at this point, there's a guy on the sidewalk, if you notice, and they call him Umbrella Man, and there's a guy in front of him, and right as the car is coming, he puts the umbrella up, and the other guy goes like this. Now they were questioned. They were like, "Well, that was just to piss the president off because whatever reason, stupid reasons." But I believe that was the go sign. Go sign. And once, once the guy on the grassy knoll realized that that wasn't it, I got to go for the head, right? Because they had to make it look like it was coming from the back. So the throat and here, they could sell that. Oh, the bullet went straight through. And he was shot from behind, one bullet, whatever it was. And that also sells. Well, it went straight through, went through Connolly and all that good stuff. And, because he's still like this and they can't let him leave Dealey Plaza without dying. They got to try and kill him there. Otherwise, the whole Oswald thing goes out the window. So the guy in the grassy knoll says, I take my shot. And he takes it and blows the side of his head off. And that's when you see the whole head go back. And some people, the worst of the worst forensics have tried to defend this. Well, if you shoot from the back, it can pull you, And so Cyril Wecht is probably the best. He's passed away in the last couple of years. But he was probably the best guy, who really uncovered all of the wounds and all that stuff. But, it's obvious that it came from the front and threw him back, threw the side of his head off. And that's why everybody started running up towards the grassy knoll. Except for Umbrella Man, the guy who put his hand up. And there's two guys sitting on the steps going up to the grassy knoll. And one has a radio, and I think he radios in, job is done. Because he saw the head being blown off.
Wow.
Again, there's probably about 40 people on the ground down there who were involved in this to make sure that everything happened. Now, seconds before the shots were fired, one of the motorcycle cops accidentally clicked on his radio, which blocked up all the radio signal. He's radioing in, so nobody else can radio out. So you can hear the shots. You can hear the 3 shots, 4 shots, whatever it is. But this also blocks the cops from, hey, the shot's fired, get down there quick. Nobody can get down there because it's jammed.
Wow.
So they say it was accidental, but I believe that was done intentionally. The cop on that bike was told, hey, jam your radio. And whether he knew more, I don't know. But I believe that he did that intentionally. And that was a way then that they could not, send immediate help if they needed more time. Then you have Greer, who's the driver of the limo. And he's actually born and raised in Ireland, moved over to the States. But he has ties to the CIA and ONI. And a big no-no on the motorcade is you don't slow down. Right? If anything, you speed up and you get the fuck out of there. Well, once the shots come in here and the back, Greer slows down, turns around, and as some people say, oh, he has a weapon, you can see, no, it's just the sun shining off the metal of the car, because metallic, it's stainless steel. He turns around and he's just staring, not doing anything. I mean, either speed up or go help him. But he's just staring, and obviously it's quick, and then boom, the headshot, and then he turns around and just gets out of there. Why slow down? I mean, he's shot. If I hear a shot, I'm ducking, I'm going. He didn't duck, didn't do nothing, just turned around.
Looked.
Okay.
Wow.
There's so much going on. You've got to dissect it bit by bit by bit, And then, so who shot JFK? Okay, so I've already said that, in my opinion, there was somebody from the Daltex building. There might have been somebody up on the top of the book depository. There was a rifle found up there, and I believe there was. And then there's somebody almost at the overpass on the corner there that fired that throat shot, and there's a picture you can try and Google it and try and find it of the windshield, and there's a bullet mark on the windshield going in, and that's the throat shot. So when the car got back to Washington, they stripped it down of everything, refurbished it, new windshield, new everything, and none of the stuff was taken into evidence.
Wow.
So
Wow.
So the guy, so who killed JFK? Well, any of those shots really could have killed him, right? I mean, shot in the throat and then shot in the back, he might have died anyway, but they couldn't take that risk of him leaving. And in my opinion, the guy, and for years, I didn't know who to believe, didn't know what, and I kept digging. And at one point, there was a Corsican or Moroccan hitman that was in Dealey Plaza that day. I believe he might have been the guy on the sixth floor, not on the sixth floor, on the roof. But the guy who shot from the grassy knoll, I believe, is the name of Roscoe White, and he was a cop with Dallas as well. And I kind of mixed up some things, and I knew this would happen because there's so much going on. But Roscoe is the one who started with Dallas police in September, not Tippett. So I apologize for that. Tippett was there a long time.
Gotcha. Okay.
But Roscoe White had just started with Dallas PD in September, and he so you hear this thing of badge man up at the fence. Well, he's a cop, so that could be him. There's a famous picture taken by Mary Moorman from the opposite side of the grassy knoll, and he took two pictures before. And as the president's coming, she stepped back because the motorcycle cop was about to hit her, and she took the picture. And she took the picture at the exact same time of the headshot. So when you see that picture of looking at the grassy knoll and the president's head being blown off, that's her picture that she took.
Wow.
And she never touched that camera ever again because she was just so traumatized by it. And she didn't realize the gravity of what she had just caught on camera, because again, she's this old style camera, right? And she's kind of looking through it. And she doesn't see everything at that time, and then by the time she takes it down, she realizes, oh my god. But so go back to Roscoe White. He's not on duty. He's not there. Supposed to be there, I guess, but definitely not supposed to be up behind the fence. But the cop who was on the bike right behind the president on his on his motorcycle, he got brain and blood all over him, which just also verifies it came from the front, right? Because it came back and on top of the guy on the motorcycle who's behind him. Well, he drops his bike because he knows it came from over there. He's a cop. He understands how shots work. Everything came this way on top of his face. Shot came from over there. So he goes running up the grassy knoll, the little entrance right there. And here comes Roscoe White coming out. And he's like, Roscoe, what are you doing here? He's like, oh, I'm looking for the guy too. I'm looking to see who. He's like, okay, go.
Wow.
But why is he already behind the fence?
Yeah.
It just happened. So that stalled the cop. And then there's guys in suits over there. And they take out their, hey, we're Secret Service. We're looking for the guy. You just go back that way. So, okay. So, that takes care of anybody else coming in while the guy gets away.
Wow.
So there's so many different witnesses, behind the fence, back about, I don't know, 60 yards or so. There's a rail that goes around, and that's the overpass, and you have the railway, and there's a railway depot right there, and there was a guy that was in there who Lee Bowers, who witnessed guys behind the fence with a gun, and he saw a guy in a uniform pass the gun to somebody else who broke it down, put it in a bag, gave it to somebody else, and they all walked off in different directions. And he was killed in a single car accident not too long after. He wouldn't change his story. And he was told to shut up, and he was told to be quiet. And once he was killed, his wife was told, you better keep your mouth shut. And she did, and she never spoke about it ever again. So there's so many stories like that, so many that we could go into. I just got a book actually called Hit List, and it's about 50 chapters, and each chapter is dedicated to one person who was a witness or involved in the JFK assassination who died mysteriously.
Wow.
So that's 50 people, But, years later, Roscoe White, when he died, and the kids, his son, Ricky White, uncovered his diary and a canister in the yard that had pictures of him and Ruby, and
Oh no.
and
That's crazy.
lots of evidence.
Wow.
And they try to make his life hell. And he's I don't know what he is now, in his 50s or 60s now. He's got to be, right? But apparently he is a fun, nice, great dad dude kind of guy. But when he went to show, when he was brought in for questioning about the diary and all that stuff that he found, he came back a broken man. And, but he vowed to keep telling his story. And I think he's one of those ones that if they were to do anything to him, it would be like, okay, huge red flag. Where other witnesses they've been able to kind of discard of along the way, a lot of them before the House Select Committee of assassinations became a thing. But once they knew that was coming around, they had to get rid of some people.
Wow.
It's just so many people, man. That was just.
It's scary, to be honest. It's kind of.
It really is. And you look at today's climate. I mean, you don't play ball, and you could be talking to a bunch of college kids and be killed. And that's the fact of the matter.
Yeah. Or not just killed, but severely injured or fucking whatever. Wow. So I guess the most important question that has been on my mind that I've been saving until everything has been discussed. Why is this so important to you? And also just in general, why is it important to know this, just to know that it was an inside job?
For me, it's, the government is supposed to work for us. And they're supposed to be transparent. And they're supposed to do what's right for the people. But if they're secretly behind doors plotting to kill the leader of the free world, the most powerful man in the world, their own leader, then what can they do to us? And if we don't expose that and make them accountable for it, then we will never be truly free. We will never be able to just live our lives how we should be able to live our lives. They're no better than us. They're no more special than us. Just because they have titles and certain powers, they shouldn't abuse those. They shouldn't be killing a world leader who has done nothing wrong but try to bring peace to the world on the streets of his own country in front of hundreds of people, and then lie about it, then try and get away with it for 60 years. Now, it shouldn't be a thing.
Yeah.
And the fact that they've kind of numbed society to it and just pushed it, and now it's 60 years on, so it's like, what does it matter kind of thing. And nobody's going to be held accountable anyway. Everybody's pretty much dead that was involved in it. I mean, you can go back to even George Bush Sr., he had involvement with some of these people down there.
Wow.
He started an oil company that was used to gather intelligence information. And, there was a guy, I forget his name, but he worked for NORAD, right? And on December 22nd, 1963, he was supposed to be on a flight to New Mexico and it was C-45, C-54, whatever the CIA planes were back then. And it's a big plane. It's not, a little jet. It's not. So there's multiple people on there who are going to different places, and you don't know who everybody is. Well, there was a guy on there who was rushed in to the plane by Secret Service agents, and once they landed in New Mexico, he was rushed off. And later that evening, or the next day, whatever it was, he was watching TV with his wife. That guy who worked for NORAD saw Oswald on the news. He goes, "Hey, that was the little guy that was on the plane." And this is after the assassination. That evening. So I think there was a kind of a look-alike that they used. Because remember, they had Oswald in places that Oswald never went. They had him in Mexico City at the Russian embassy, which he never went to. But they forged all that paperwork. And then years later, pictures came out of Oswald at the Russian embassy. Looks nothing like Oswald. I don't know how they try to pass that off as being Oswald, but you can look that up on Google as well. And, then years later, they couldn't find any proof that he was there. But then years later, Ruth Payne found something in a book, like a ticket or something. And it's like, oh, here's some evidence that he was in Russia or in Mexico. Oh, that's crazy how that just appeared all of a sudden. Now that things are being questioned. So it's never ending, man. There's so many different different directions of this that you can have so many episodes on, and different people that you can talk about.
But see, I at this point, I just feel like it's just come out and say, yeah, it was an inside job, Well, it's been
they have
so
said
long.
Maybe there is a conspiracy. That's as far as they've gone. But they won't say, and it was us,
It makes it feels like they're still protecting someone or something, that if they come out and say, you know what, Lee Harvey Oswald wasn't the guy who killed him. Here's what actually happened. I feel like it'll reveal somebody who might still have some power, or some family that still has some power, and just tears him down. That's the only reason that I could see.
Well, if it comes out that they admit to it, well, it was the CIA, so we gotta get rid of the CIA. Then we gotta get rid of the Office of Navy Intelligence. We can't do that because that's something that has so many secrets and so much protection for this country, but yet it's its own enemy as well.
And without the assassination, there wouldn't have been the Vietnam War, correct? Or
no, Vietnam War was already going on.
Okay, gotcha.
Kennedy wanted to pull them out starting the following fall, I think it was. And Johnson didn't want that because there's so much money wrapped up in the Vietnam War. These oil men, who Johnson's buddy with, they also have money in Raytheon and Northrop Grumman and all those that make airplanes and warplanes and everything like that. And so, yeah.
Shit. Well, I think I'm gonna have to have a beer after this. Fuck.
Hey, can you pause real quick?
Yeah. Give me a sec. Yeah, I'll just do this so I know to cut it out. And we're back. We just had to take a little pee break.
But yeah. So there's also something I want you guys to Google, and this in itself is very telling. There's, as I mentioned, Billy Celestas, right? So there was, and the reason I think maybe Billy Celestas was in the Daltex building is because there's some code names that were given, right? There was Mandarin, which was what's his name? Who did I say? Oh my God,
Billy Celeste.
Mandarin, Lebanon, and Saul, right? And that's why I think the one guy on the roof was probably the Sicilian or the mob guy from Morocco or somewhere. And his name is Lebanon, whatever it is. Saul, probably Billy Celestis, and then Roscoe White. We know, based on all his intelligence and his records that he kept, that his nickname was, or his code name was Mandarin, right? But there is and Billy Celestis was a businessman, oil man, good friends with LBJ and Mac Wallace. And Mac Wallace, as I mentioned, he was LBJ's kind of gopher, right? Hey, get this done for me. Kill this guy. Shoot this guy. Break this guy's legs. Mac Wallace would get it done. Whether he did it himself or not, sometimes he did. But there's a phone call between Cliff Carter and Billy Celestis that's recorded. And I don't know if it's a phone call or it's a conversation that was recorded. But Billy Celestis' grandson released it. You can find it on if you Google it. And they talk about.
might play it or something in between.
Okay.
Yeah, might play it for a little bit. What?
Okay.
Yeah. Just go on. Sorry.
So Cliff Carter and Billy Celestis are talking, and Billy Celestis says his main regret out of everything, and he doesn't know why he is being involved with LBJ's assassination on JFK. And he still can't believe that he had Mac Wallace do that for him. So Mac Wallace, and Clifton Carter says, yeah, that was bad. That was not good.
Mm-hmm.
I know that he regrets a lot of things that he has done, but still, it's been a battle from day one. Well, Dale, I sure do appreciate all the things that you've done for us, and I appreciate the trust that I've had. You've had anytime for a long time friend, and I'm just sorry that I've embarrassed all my friends and put all my friends through this. Oh, you didn't embarrass me. And what I was really afraid of, my brother Bob that got killed, our plane was down at Bryan the day that Mike Wallace killed Henry Marshall. And I was afraid just going to tie him into the thing, and we couldn't afford to. In fact, Pam started to write a book.
So they're just having a conversation because they know about it. They know what happened. And it was a sitting vice president who gave the final order to go ahead and get this done. Now, whether LBJ was just acting bravado, like I'm the guy who's directing this traffic, I don't believe so. I think that he, with the CIA and the ONI, pretty much said, hey, we got to get this guy out, and I'll give you everything that you want. You want to stay in Vietnam? We'll stay in Vietnam. You want Operation Mongoose? We'll have Operation Mongoose. You want Operation Mockingbird? We'll have Operation Mockingbird, And they said, all right, if you can get it done, but it comes back on you, nobody else. And he had Mac Wallace get the guys that he needed to get. CIA were aware of it. Let it happen. ONI was aware of it. Let it happen. And this type of phone call that throws LBJ under the bus, and even if you go to and you look at Roscoe White's and Ricky White's interviews, or if you can find anything on Ricky White, his son, and what he describes, LBJ was definitely spearheading it, and that was his revenge on the Kennedys for what they put him through.
Wow.
And going to dump him off the ticket and all that stuff. And possibly throw him in jail.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's just another, aspect of the evidence that is ignored. And there's so much.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure there's still more that you have yet to talk about. I'm sure. I'm sure this could go on for days. And I mean, I don't have a problem with it even if it does. But I mean, what was there ever kind of some evidence that was given to you, or not given to you, but like that you read up on or researched about, where you're just like, this does not make any sense, that could have supported, um, I guess in this instance, the truth? You know?
No, I mean, gosh, I don't know. There are things where, like, I've heard, like, well, Oswald just went to the movie theater because he loves movies and he's a big movie buff. That's like, well, considering he's involved with the CIA and all the guys, we didn't even talk about the guys in Louisiana, in New Orleans, on Camp Street, who shared a building with ONI that nobody knew about until he was handing out the leaflets that had the same address. And the two doors lead to the same address in the building. And we went by there when we were in New Orleans, maybe, I don't know, 5-6 years ago. But, that kind of thing where, Oswald just went to the movie theater. So he left the building where apparently the shooter shot a shot, casually went home, casually went to the movie theater just to watch a movie, even though the president was just killed. And that makes no sense.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see what movies came out around that time. And
well, you can see as he's being arrested and pulled out of the movie theater, there's 2 movies on the marquee up there.
Okay.
And War is Hell is one of them. And I forget what the other one is. But yeah. And then that was changed, but then in the 80s, they redid the whole front of it to look exactly as it does in 1963, as it did in 1963 for the JFK movie. So any pictures of it before then, between I think 72 to 80, whatever, may not look like the pictures of when Oswald's been pulled out, but from the time the movie was made on, it looks exactly the same. I have pictures of it when we went there. I didn't try and go in because didn't have the time, but I want to go back.
Do they still show movies, or?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's still a movie theater.
That's awesome.
It's changed a little bit inside. I saw pictures of the inside, and obviously it's been updated a little bit.
Probably got some recliner seat warmers.
No, it's still old-fashioned seats.
Oh, awesome. That's cool.
Yeah. And it's huge. I mean, it's absolutely huge inside. If you look at it from the street, it's like just a little storefront almost. But when you go inside, it is absolutely huge. And
damn, we're gonna
movie theater.
We're gonna have to go or something for the.
Absolutely, I want to go there with you.
See a movie.
And so Dealey Plaza itself, if you've never been, Dealey Plaza is tiny. It is tiny. And so when you get there, it's very surreal how close the building is, the book depository, to where the X is on the middle of the street where the fatal shot was, pretty much close to where he was shot. And then the grassy knoll, which is just, it's right there. It's all right there. So, the crossfire was designed to ensure that he was not going to make it out. But if he did, there was a hotel, and we can do a follow-up because I don't have all that information off the top of my head, but there was a hotel that looks out onto Stemmons Freeway, which is what they got onto to go to the hospital. And there was a CIA guy who was a hitman who was staying at the hotel, and apparently he was sitting there waiting in case they needed to finish him off on the freeway.
So there was just no way that Kennedy was going to get out of this.
He was not leaving Dallas alive. It's that simple.
That's crazy.
And then they would have had a second guy who they would have framed, but they didn't need to because it all happened in Dealey Plaza. But, also then the luncheon that he was supposed to be going to was at one place, and they switched it to another venue because that had walkways up top And that's believed to be where, if none of that had happened, if they had a screwed up Dealey Plaza, if they had a screwed up the hotel shot, and none of those shots either went off or whatever, and he still went to the venue under protection, that he'd still be able to get him from there.
Wow.
So,
Wow, man. They wanted him dead.
oh yeah, this was their last chance, because they tried it in Chicago in June, but the guy that they had tapped to do it there, Patsy there, he got arrested beforehand. So that blew everything out of the water for them. He got arrested for carrying weapons, right? So, I mean, because this is just what Oswald did too. Oswald carried weapons and drugs for those guys from Florida to Texas to New Orleans. I mean, that was just part of what they did. But this guy got arrested 2 weeks before. And so that kind of blew everything up a little bit. And it's like, oh shit, okay, we got to put it off. They're going to go do it in Florida in August, or maybe September. Logistically, it just didn't work out. There was no real, and once they found, okay, well, Dallas has these buildings. Okay, perfect. Awesome. And we have Oswald there. Okay, he's our guy there. So that's who we're going to set up for that.
Wow. Jesus.
So the plot started a year ago, but the venues changed because of this, that, and the other, you know?
Wow.
So, yeah.
Wow.
So, but once you start firing, that was it. They had to finish it. They couldn't risk it not killing him, because if he gets out, well, you know, that's the end of that. Now he's definitely winning in 64.
Yeah.
You know, and that couldn't happen. So,
yeah. I mean, is there anything after the assassination, I guess, within your lifetime, from, I guess, when you were born to now, that you're just like, you're seeing this happen again in real time?
oh, absolutely. 9/11.
Okay. That was a big
9/11.
that was a big one for you, where you're just like, there's no way that these guys did it. You know?
Well,
or like, there's no way that they painted it. There's no way that how they're saying this happened.
Right.
Is what I mean.
Right. It was allowed to happen, in my opinion. It was an excuse, you know, to go to war. Look, George Bush Jr. was president at that time. His dad, George Bush Sr., was involved with the CIA at the time of Kennedy's assassination, and was later the head of CIA. This family's as corrupt as it gets, is my opinion. And they've had their finger on Texas and America for so long, you know, and they're still involved in what I call the government within the government today. You know, so 9/11 is definitely one. And then the attempted assassination on Trump last year at the rally in Pennsylvania, where they totally messed that up.
Yeah.
You know, which I'm happy they did. You know, I don't care what party you're with, Democrat, Republican, I don't care. You never want to see that happen.
Yeah.
You know? And then, you know, then Charlie Kirk. You know?
It's insane. It's insane.
And you know, I don't believe that kid killed Charlie Kirk. I don't know if he fired a shot at all. I don't know, because we haven't heard from him. You know, we usually hear from people. We see the guy who killed the banker or not the banker, the insurance guy in New York, Mangini or whatever his name was, the guy that did that. We saw him being paraded around in handcuffs and everything. I haven't seen, I don't watch the news, but I haven't seen him on X.
I haven't seen him either.
Being kept away because he was just a patsy.
Well, I mean, he also doesn't look as good as the other guy does. I mean, the other guy's. I think everybody was on the internet wanting to free the dude just because he was good looking. I mean,
was that right?
Yeah.
See, this is the state we live in. It's like somebody was killed, but because, they didn't agree with his line of work, well, F him and free the guy because he's good looking. I mean, what kind of mentality is that? It's just sick.
I mean, it's the same kind of mentality of people cheering because Charlie Kirk died, celebrating, and it's just like the guy was killed in front of his wife and kids, and yeah,
Thousands of students.
Wow,
and it doesn't matter whether you agree with him or not. There's plenty of people on the left I don't agree with. There's plenty of people on the right I don't agree with. I would never want to see them killed. That's just not
what's crazy about that for me is you have all these other incidents of school shootings happening, and all these people are up in arms saying, you got to have gun control and whatnot. But once it's somebody who you disagree with that gets killed by a gun at a school, it's different,
Yeah. More power to them, right?
It's crazy. It's crazy, but
even these school shootings, man, there's something more to them. There's these kids on certain medications. I think that they're being
don't say too much. I don't want to be sued for $1 billion.
Well, I'm not saying they're not happening.
Yeah. I'm just kidding. I'm just making a joke.
I'm not going to Alex Jones it, but I think that there's more to it than just some kid is waking up one day and going, I'm going to shoot up my school. I think there's some grooming going on, much like the certain other communities out there on social media that groom certain kids to think a certain way. And I think that we got to be very careful with, what we allow our kids to, be open to, because there's so many, and you go back to, getting off. I knew this would happen.
It's a podcast. It's not. It's a podcast. It is what it is.
We go from JFK to why the government wanted to separate the black family, and why we now have the culture in the black community that we have. And it's because we're letting them be raised by a government that's grooming them to be a certain way because it works for them. Because now if you need me, that's cool. Vote for me and I'll give you what you want. And that's where we are in society. And it's so messed up.
Yeah.
It's so messed up. And that's goes back to the end of the JFK thing, is why our government is allowed to mess with how we think and how we believe, all the way from killing the top guy to destroying families just for votes.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the JFK assassination, and I'm not saying that these are on the same level or whatever, but just comparing it to a more modern assassination with Charlie Kirk, you have to. Fuck, I forgot what I was gonna say. I guess what I'm trying to say is.
Say it.
Were the people back then as divided as they were with the Charlie Kirk assassination? That's what I was trying to say. Trying to ask.
No, I don't think they were as divided, because.
And that's what's crazy to me.
you didn't have the machine that you have today of social media driving the divide, And while the media certainly didn't, cater to certain people or certain ideas, it didn't divide as much as it did today, and it's intentional today.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it wasn't intentional then, but I mean, I don't know, but
it's a lot easier to do today than it was then.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. When you have, back then you had, your local affiliate stations and that was it. But now you have so many networks and they're all doing the same thing, and they're all, preaching the same.
Bought by political parties and all this fucking bullshit. Yeah.
And then you have a small group of people, but they're being louder than the larger group who stays quiet. It seems like the small group is larger because the noise they make.
Yeah.
And then you have people who, oh shit, they got a big following. There's something to this, It's like, no, they don't. They're just being louder. And, this is a conversation I actually had with Connor this morning. He's 9. And you know, he's like, yeah, it's just, it's bizarre how, you know, the conversation was again, here we go, was goth people, you know? And I'm like, well, you know.
Why was he?
I mean,
He doesn't understand goth people?
no, he's like, why is there so many? I'm like, there's not. I said, how many do you think live in this city? He goes like, I don't know. Like, I said, how many do you see in this city? And it was like, not many. I'm like, right. But you think there's a lot because they're on a lot of social media, or, I mean, he's not on social media, but they're on a lot of shows, or, so it seems like they're constant, but they're not. It's a small part of society.
Yeah.
And, you know, they're just people who, that's how they dress right now because they're looking maybe for attention, or they think that's cool, or 10 years from now, they'll probably be dressing a different way.
Yeah.
You know, but then you'll have younger people who are dressing that way. So it seems like it's a constant flow of goth, you know, but and this is just an example. But, you know, it's what certain people, a phase certain people go through because they want something to cling on to, or they want attention, or they feel connected to it. And, you know, that can definitely change 10 years from now when they mature and their wants and needs in life change.
Yeah, I probably won't be wearing this in the next 10 years or so. Like the whole Terrifier thing will probably just wash over me in the next 10 years, you know? It's just,
you never know. I mean, but as a part of it, when you get married, you have kids, especially when you have kids, and then things change, you know? And, you know, it goes, some people still, there's a small percentage that stay with it throughout their adulthood, but there's a lot that it's a phase, you know? And so that was a interesting conversation we had this morning that was just basically kind of ties into this as well.
Yeah, and to add on to that, I wouldn't be wearing this if I didn't get the attention I was getting. You know, people are always talking about this when I have it on. Oh, nice sweater. Oh, thank you. You know, thank you. It makes me feel better about myself. Same thing with the Scooby Doo sweater. I would always wear. I always get compliments on it, and compliments started to fade, so I had to change it up.
At least you're honest. You know?
Yeah, but no, with this one, it's more of a conversation starter at this point. But yeah, you know, just gets me to bring up the fact that I worked the maze, but whatever. I had to find some way to bring that into the podcast.
But that's just it. I mean, but the thing is that is something that you do as not just something that you're interested in, but something as a living as well. So it makes sense, right? I mean,
yeah,
I have, not that I wear them around, but you know, I have tank tops that I work out in that are Bret Hart, Mr. Perfect, and you know, I like to wear those when I'm working out because it's just takes me back to, you know, as I'm working out, and I like to think of stuff to keep me motivated while I'm working out. And you know, my wrestling days and all that stuff. Growing up as a kid watching wrestling, and you know, sometimes I'll even put it on the TV while I'm working out. You know, but that's stuff that you. But again, I don't go out in public and go, "Hey, I was in the wrestling business" and stuff like that. Like, you know, or
why not?
That's what some of these goth people just go out there and look at me. I'm making a statement. You know, it's like, holy shit, fucking calm down.
Yeah,
you know, you get it. You know, but again, each to their own, and I've nothing against them. But that was just a conversation.
Yeah.
How the hell do we get on this shit?
I know some goth people. You know, I feel like I'm in the realm to where I do see a lot of them. So it's more for me. I'm just like, it's more normal for me to see goth people. You know, I'm not like, why are there so many? It's just like,
comic book world and
yeah, those are the people who like horror movies. Those are the people who like comics. You know,
sure.
But
again, how they dress now is probably not how they're going to dress 10 years now, 15 years from now, right?
No,
I mean, it's just,
maybe.
And I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying that's me explaining it to a 9-year-old is like, it's a phase. I mean, we all go through phases.
I think there's one like TikToker or Instagram person or whatever where it's like a grandma and she's dressed in goth or whatever, and I'm just like, all right, but like you don't see more than one, you know. I don't know. So yeah, I mean, you know, back to the topic of conspiracies, you know, since we're a little off topic, you know, is there any like other conspiracies that we talked a little about 9/11, but what about aliens? Do you think aliens are do you think they exist?
So, it's funny that you mentioned that because I am one. No, I am actually an alien from a different country. But the guy, I forget his name, and this is why I need to make more notes, and because I'm old and I forget shit.
It's okay.
But the guy who was on that plane who worked for NORAD going to New Mexico. He has. I'll find out his name and I'll post it in the comments or whatever. And where he did work, basically on flying saucers, but they weren't from a different realm or a different planet or anything. It was CIA flying saucers that they made themselves.
Oh no!
Yeah, and there's a mountain in northern Vegas, and again, maybe we'll do an episode on this in the future. Where
I need excuses to go to Vegas.
Yeah, Area 51, whatever it is.
Yeah,
you go into the mountain and all that, and that's where they have like acres and acres and acres of these black ops of alien spacecraft. So now I don't know if they are trying to reverse engineer an alien spacecraft they found, or if they created the spacecraft themselves, and this is going to be part of something that they're trying to build towards in the event of war or whatever it may be, or trying to get to a different planet,
or maybe distracting us from something, or
Absolutely. There's your Operation Mockingbird, right? With the alien invasion last year in New Jersey, right?
This is something that the president did that was fantastic. Oh, look over here, there's aliens.
Right.
What are you going to talk about more, aliens or what the president did?
Right. Absolutely. Unless it's the president who's involved with the aliens, and then it's like, oh man.
Ooh, there you go. We might see some aliens on the Epstein list. I mean, we talked about the Epstein list last episode, and I think more news has come out about it. Where didn't Trump sign something about to get the Epstein list released or something? Or
yeah, well, see, and this is where I think I just had this conversation too with my wife a few nights ago. She was asking like, "What's the deal with this?" And I'm like, "Do you not understand that this is how Trump goes about things? It's like." No Epstein list. We don't need that. We don't need that. Makes the Democrats go, oh, hold on a second. If he's saying that, there must be something on there about him. Hey, get the Epstein list out. Get the Epstein list out. And he's like, okay. Gets it out. I mean, he's playing chess.
I think we have to see the list before we can, because
absolutely. You can't accuse anybody.
There's still a chance that when we get this list, there's going to be so many redacted. Sure. And I'm holding out my thoughts until the list is released, because I have a feeling that there's going to be names crossed out on there, and that we'll never know what's under the black bars.
Absolutely. I mean, here's the thing: Epstein was working for the government, no doubt about it. There's no way.
But was he working for the intergovernment or the government?
Oh, the intergovernment. The government within the government. Absolutely.
Gotcha.
And he was as corrupt as could be. He was getting, but I think he was working for both, to be honest with you. I think he was on, he was playing both sides. I mean, you're only getting paid by one, but you can play both sides, because it's the same entity. It's split into good guys and bad guys.
Yeah.
But he was getting guys onto his island, making sure that they were doing what they shouldn't have been doing, recording it all, and then using it against them. And that's how they were getting deals done. And that's how, you keep people in line. And is it right? Of course not.
Absolutely.
Because these women are victims. They are being,
it's terrible.
Trafficked for this. But at the same time, here's the thing. You have victims coming on TV saying they want the list released. Well, why don't you guys just tell us who the guys are? If these are the real victims, why not just tell me right now on TV? You're on TV. Give me some names.
Well, I think it might be in the same vein as some of the witnesses and whatever from the JFK assassination of if I say something, people are going to come after me and I could be dead tomorrow, you know?
But then why go on TV at all to say release the list?
It's very true.
I mean,
very true.
If I'm on TV, here's my chance to actually get it out there. If anything happens to me, you know why. You know? But man, something stinks about it. I don't know if there's that many victims that are, really on TV, if they're really all victims, or if some of them are being, hey, we're going to bring you in just to make it look like there's more, to make it, more damning, so we can get this release, more pressure.
I'm surprised that hasn't happened of, hey, we're going to pay you. You're going to go out there. You're going to say you're a victim, and you're going to say this person was there. I'm surprised that we haven't gotten more of that, at least to my knowledge.
I mean, who knows?
But
maybe we will. Who knows?
Yeah.
But that's the scary thing now about AI and some of the things you see out there is like they could create fake video of somebody doing something they shouldn't be doing. And it's so scary.
They could create a video of us making out through AI.
Yeah,
like that's weird, Yeah. And I think what I'm going to be curious to see is how many of these people are going to come out as victims after the list is released. How many of these people are going to be like, oh, now that the list is released, I can finally say my piece. It's like you had all this time. You had all this time to do it.
Yeah. Now they're going to say, oh, this guy's name's on it. Oh yeah, he did this to me.
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of ambulance chasers just trying to get their money. Absolutely. But yeah, we gotta see an open list and whoever it was, and I don't care who it is, if it's left, right, religious, non-religious, I don't care who it is. They need to be prosecuted, and it's got to be. I don't want the right saying this guy did it just to say he did it. I don't want the left saying that about the right either. I want concrete evidence, because it's not fair to ruin somebody's life over. Because this is an awful thing. And, if it's another character assassination, which is what they tried to do to Trump for the last, 10 years, it's not good.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, who knows? I think we're at a very interesting point in history of, I think all it takes is one little thing and it sets everything off. I feel like we're at the boiling point. We're just waiting for the pot to boil over at this point and explode. But maybe that's just how the media wants us to think and keep us on our toes. I don't know. I don't know. But I'm still waiting for all the people to move out of the country that said they would when Trump got elected as president. That's the thing that cracks me up is I'm leaving this state. All right, let's see ya. Have fun.
Hey, tell you what, Rosie O'Donnell's probably the only one. The credit to her.
What, she said that she was gonna leave and she left, right?
Yeah.
There you go. See? Oh, but I don't have enough money to do it. Why?
They're millionaires, all of them.
Whatever. Oh, I'm not rich like her. I can't move out of here. All right.
Great.
Whatever. But
anyway,
so aliens. You don't think aliens exist?
No, I do.
Okay.
I just think that again, the stuff out in New Jersey last year of the spacecrafts or whatever it was, I believe that was our government, and they don't want anybody to know about it, so they made up this story that came out earlier this year. But I think they're reverse engineering the alien spacecrafts that maybe they have found and crashed in this state, New Mexico, and Nevada. But yeah, I do believe there's something else out there. I think it's crazy for us to think that we're the only things.
100%. 100%. If Earth was inhabitable, there has to be other planets that are inhabitable. I think I saw a video that there was a planet that it was this. You might have seen the same video because I don't know if we have the same feed or not, but it was a planet that was in another galaxy, orbiting another star, and it's in that that safe zone between distance from the sun and whatever. The only problem is the planet doesn't rotate. So because the planet doesn't rotate, it's inhabitable because there's no, we don't have, there's no cycles that we have here. There's no, like, it's crazy how much the Earth rotating has on life,
Right. Oh, yeah, the Earth stops spinning, we're dead.
Yeah, so the planet just doesn't spin, but it still orbits the star, which is what makes it inhabitable because it doesn't spin. I'm like, that's crazy. That's some crazy shit. But
That's crazy.
but yeah, I don't know. It was just some fucking video I saw, but yeah, I mean, I think aliens got to exist. If aliens know about us, they're probably trying to stay far away. They're like, man, these guys are crazy. Fuck them.
Yeah.
And I feel like if aliens knew that we existed, I think one, they're already smarter than us, given the fact that they've already found out that from where they're at, there's other habitable planets. And so with that, it's just like, well, our technology is way advanced than these. We can't make contact because they would know, and they're already fighting with each other. Who knows? Like, we're already on the outside. They're going to be fighting with us. I don't know. Mm-hmm. That's my thought process on if aliens existed and they thought, and they knew about us.
Yeah, but, I'm with you on that.
Yeah,
we have to do a whole show on aliens.
I don't know much about aliens. I don't know much about them.
Well, I tell you what, go ahead and watch. There's some good stuff to watch. There's a show called Mork and Mindy. That's very educational. Watch that one.
Mork and Mindy.
Mork and Mindy.
That doesn't sound like something that would be educational.
It's a Robin Williams comedy show from the 80s.
Okay, and he's an alien or something.
He's an alien that comes to Earth, and he lives with this lady, and he goes nano.
That's funny. Yeah. Seeing Robin Williams.
That was a great show. But he had to pretend he was a human. And it was just the funniest shit.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Might have to check it out just because of Robin Williams. Yeah. But
absolutely. Tremendous.
What about ghosts? You think ghosts? Let's knock them all out. Knock all these conspiracies out. Yeah.
All right. So I got to leave here in a few minutes to take Connor lunch. But we can do a whole episode.
Then this will be the last thing. This will be the last thing. Ghosts.
No, not in the sense of,
yeah,
right? Of this white sheet thing. No. I believe when we die, our energy leaves our body, and our energy is out there, and that's why we feel people around us that we maybe have lost, or we have deja vu, or we have certain things that happen in our lives that remind us of certain things. But I don't believe in actual ghosts. No.
Gotcha. Okay.
In that sense,
I don't believe in any of that. Once we're dead, we're dead. Oh well, that's it. It's not. I feel like it's not about being a ghost or being whatever. It's about what you did when you were alive. That keeps you alive. That keeps your spirit up and going. Is the stories people have about you, whether it's one person or a million people. That's what I believe. So I don't feel like it's more of a spiritual kind of thing. I feel like it's more of a community kind of social spirit, not like, an orb of energy going around or whatever. It's just the whole communal of, oh yeah, this dude was fantastic. That dude, I knew him and he was a great dude. And I feel like that is my interpretation of what good spirits are of a person. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, that's just it. It's all open to interpretation because nobody really knows. It's their belief system, right? I mean, I believe that he believes a body, you don't. Some people believe you go to heaven. Some people believe you can go to hell. Some people believe, you turn into a bird and every time they see a pigeon on their windowsill, it's Uncle Dave, That's just not the case. I think that's kind of crazy. But other stuff where we just, energy or like you said, it's over. I mean, it's open to what you believe in, you
Yeah.
know? And I think that's why it's called having faith, right? Because, you have faith that you go to heaven, or you have faith that, you continue on somewhere.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't know.
100%.
That's another show. Let's do a whole show on that too. Line them up. Let's
Yeah,
go.
I mean, yeah, line them up. Might as well, fuck, wrestling's kind of getting boring.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Vince Russo, who was a creative, he was the head of creative before I got there and left before I got there in WWE and went to WCW. He is now running Juggalo Championship Wrestling, and I can check in with him. Maybe we can get him on one day because that's pretty cool stuff to see.
Yeah.
It's all on YouTube. It's all live. Not live, but it's all on our YouTube channel, and some pretty good stuff. And Vince is pretty creative, so I like it.
That's good. That's good. We might then maybe we'll have to contact him and I don't know. He'll be the first guest on the podcast.
Yeah. There's a guest lineup I have that we should talk about and maybe look into doing shows with them.
Oh, 100%. Well, I know you have to go, and this whole episode was based off of the JFK assassination. Is there any final thoughts? Anything you wanna add to it? Maybe a special message, a speech, or something. I don't know. Anything that you could think of?
I would just say, again, this is I never want anybody just to believe what they hear here. I want them to go do their own research, but dig deep. Don't just believe the first thing you see. Rush to Judgment is a great book. Hitless is a great book. There's a few others I'll bring on and I'll put on there. I have a bunch of books, but I would say do your research. I believe Oswald was just the patsy. He was, there for a reason that he thought was true and it wasn't, and they pulled a swerve on him, and they turned heel on him, and he was the guy that they sacrificed to get their job done. And at the end of the day, after flip-flopping for a few years and not knowing and then really getting into the weeds, I do believe Roscoe White is the one that fired a headshot from the grassy knoll. Do your research on that. I do believe that Mac Wallace was heavily involved in making sure that those guys were in the positions. I do believe that there was so many people on the ground down there giving signals, and you just got to do your homework. I say do your homework, do your research. There's plenty of podcasts out there that go over this stuff. Some are trash, some are good, some are really good, but be careful what you believe, because even the good ones have some stuff on there that I was like, oh, really?
But there's only one Doyled In podcast.
Only one Doyled In. We'll get Doyled In every time.
Yeah. I mean, this has been really insightful, because all I knew about JFK before watching the movie and preparing for this episode was he was a playable character in Black Ops Zombies. Fantastic. You could team up with him and Fidel Castro and fight zombies together. Yeah, that's all I knew about. What?
Why?
Because it was fun. You'd have you would play as JFK, and there was an impersonator who was doing the voice of him. So you're going around, you're shooting zombies.
It wasn't his real voice?
No, it wasn't his real voice.
What shitty ass game is this?
but yeah, that's about all I knew about JFK. Was he was a zombie killer, but man,
he was a lady killer, man.
Yeah.
And we can talk about that too. We can talk about Marilyn Monroe and the Kennedys and Robert Kennedy, and then we can also talk about Martin Luther King.
I mean, hey, you're just giving more episode ideas. You're giving me more reasons to not watch wrestling.
Yeah, you don't need any more.
But yeah, I don't have anything else to add. I mean, other than that, this is it's just been very insightful, and very, very, very eye-opening of just, man, fuck the media, fuck the media, even the government. It's just kind of like what are we doing here? We're just two little things on a floating rock.
We're pawns. We're just pawns in the
That's
grand game of make me richer.
That's it. And we're all just trying to get rich.
Yeah.
That's it. That's really it. I mean, I don't know. I don't have anything else to say.
No, that's it, man. Just
Yeah.
Do your research on the JFK. I think it's a great subject to investigate, and it'll open your eyes about a lot of things. But yeah, that's all I got.
All right. Well, this has been the Doyled In podcast. We congratulate you for making it this far. This is probably our longest episode, but yeah, tune in next week. I don't know what we'll be talking about. It'll be Thanksgiving week, so we actually might not do an episode that week. We'll figure it out.
Do one on turkeys.
Yeah, well, I wanted to do an episode on Survivor Series, the Undertaker's debut, but I don't know. My schedule's kind of messed up next week because it's Thanksgiving. But yeah, just stay tuned. And you'll see what's up next week if there is anything. But anyways, this has been the Doyled In podcast. We hope you enjoyed. We hope you have a good day, have a good night, whatever your time zone may be. Just don't forget to always stay doyled in. We'll catch you guys in the next one. Take care.
You, John Fitzgerald Kennedy, do solemnly swear
I, John Fitzgerald Kennedy, do solemnly swear
that you will faithfully execute the office of President of the United States
that I will faithfully execute the office of President of the United States
and will, to the best of your ability,
and will, to the best of my ability,
preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States.
preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States.
So help you God.
So help me God. Vice President Johnson, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Chief Justice, President Eisenhower, Vice President Nixon, President Truman, Reverend clergy, fellow citizens. We observe today not a victory of party, but a celebration of freedom, symbolizing an end as well as a beginning, signifying renewal as well as change. For I have sworn before you and Almighty God the same solemn oath our forebears prescribed nearly a century and 3/4 ago. The world is very different now, for man holds in his mortal hands the power to abolish all forms of human poverty and all forms of human life. And yet the same revolutionary beliefs for which our forebears fought are still at issue around the globe. The belief that the rights of man come not from the generosity of the state, but from the hand of God. We dare not forget today that we are the heirs of that first revolution. Let the word go forth from this time and place to friend and foe alike that the torch has been passed to a new generation of Americans born in this century, tempered by war, disciplined by a hard and bitter peace, proud of our ancient heritage and unwilling to witness or permit the slow undoing of those human rights to which this nation has always been committed and to which we are committed today at home and around the world. Let every nation know, whether it wishes us well or ill, that we shall pay any price, bear any burden, meet any hardship, support any friend, oppose any foe to assure the survival and the success of liberty. This much we pledge and more. To those old allies whose cultural and spiritual origins we share, we pledge the loyalty of faithful friends. United, there is little we cannot do in a host of cooperative ventures. Divided, there is little we can do, for we dare not meet a powerful challenge at odds and split asunder. To those new states whom we welcome to the ranks of the free, we pledge our word that one form of colonial control shall not have passed away merely to be replaced by a far more iron tyranny. We shall not always expect to find them supporting our view, but we shall always hope to find them strongly supporting their own freedom, and to remember that in the past, those who foolishly sought power by riding the back of the tiger ended up inside. To those people in the huts and villages of half the globe struggling to break the bonds of mass misery, we pledge our best efforts to help them help themselves for whatever period is required, not because the communists may be doing it, not because we seek their votes, but because it is right. If a free society cannot help the many who are poor, it cannot save the few who are rich. To our sister republics south of our border, we offer a special pledge to convert our good words into good deeds, in a new alliance for progress, to assist free men and free governments in casting off the chains of poverty. But this peaceful revolution of hope cannot become the prey of hostile powers. Let all our neighbors know that we shall join with them to oppose aggression or subversion anywhere in the Americas. And let every other power know that this hemisphere intends to remain the master of its own house. To that World Assembly of Sovereign States, the United Nations, our last best hope, in an age where the instruments of war have far outpaced the instruments of peace, we renew our pledge of support to prevent it from becoming merely a forum for invective, to strengthen its shield of the new and the weak, and to enlarge the area in which its writ may run. Finally, to those nations who would make themselves our adversary, we offer not a pledge, but a request that both sides begin anew the quest for peace. Before the dark powers of destruction, unleashed by science, engulf all humanity in planned or accidental self-destruction. We dare not tempt them with weakness, for only when our arms are sufficient beyond doubt can we be certain beyond doubt that they will never be employed. But neither can two great and powerful groups of nations take comfort from our present course, both sides overburdened by the cost of modern weapons, both rightly alarmed by the steady spread of the deadly atom, yet both racing to alter that uncertain balance of terror that stays the hand of mankind's final war. So let us begin anew, remembering on both sides that civility is not a sign of weakness, and sincerity is always subject to proof. Let us never negotiate out of fear, but let us never fear to negotiate. Let both sides explore what problems unite us, instead of belaboring those problems which divide us. Let both sides, for the first time, formulate serious and precise proposals for the inspection and control of arms, and bring the absolute power to destroy other nations under the absolute control of all nations. Let both sides seek to invoke the wonders of science instead of its terrors. Together, let us explore the stars, conquer the deserts, eradicate disease, tap the ocean depth, and encourage the arts and commerce. Let both sides unite to heed in all corners of the earth the command of Isaiah to undo the heavy burdens and let the oppressed go free. And if a beachhead of cooperation may push back the jungle of suspicion, let both sides join in creating a new endeavor, not a new balance of power, but a new world of law, where the strong are just and the weak secure and the peace preserved. All this will not be finished in the first 100 days, nor will it be finished in the first 1,000 days, nor in the life of this administration, nor even perhaps in our lifetime on this planet. But let us begin. In your hands, my fellow citizens, more than mine, will rest the final success or failure of our course. Since this country was founded, each generation of Americans has been summoned to give testimony to its national loyalty. The graves of young Americans who answered the call to service surround the globe. Now the trumpet summons us again, not as a call to bear arms, though arms we need, not as a call to battle, though in battle we are, but a call to bear the burden of a long twilight struggle, year in and year out, rejoicing in hope, patient in tribulation, a struggle against the common enemies of man, tyranny, poverty, disease, and war itself. Can we forge against these enemies a grand and global alliance, north and south, east and west, that can assure a more fruitful life for all mankind? Will you join in that historic effort? In the long history of the world, only a few generations have been granted the role of defending freedom in its hour of maximum danger. I do not shrink from this responsibility. I welcome it. I do not believe that any of us would exchange places with any other people or any other generation. The energy, the faith, the devotion which we bring to this endeavor will light our country and all who serve it. And the glow from that fire can truly light the world. And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country. My fellow citizens of the world, ask not what America will do for you, but what together we can do for the freedom of man. Finally, whether you are citizens of America or citizens of the world, ask of us here the same high standards of strength and sacrifice which we ask of you. With a good conscience, our only sure reward, with history the final judge of our deeds, let us go forth to lead the land we love, asking His blessing and His help, but knowing that here on earth, God's work must truly be our own.